Developing news coming out today, January the 22nd, 2025, as we are hearing that Trump tells Putin to end the Ukraine war now or else. Says we can do it the easy way or the hard way. Trump tells Putin to end the ridiculous war in Ukraine or face new sanctions. Donald Trump getting very aggressive with his rhetoric with Vladimir Putin, telling him to end the war or else. Now, this comes as we are hearing that our adversaries now are deciding that they need to unify. Xi speaks to Putin, calling on China, Russia to uphold international fairness, justice, as they're saying that it is no longer fair that Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and in order to uphold international fairness, China and Russia, they need to unify. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, as we're hearing that our adversaries are concerned right now with the rhetoric that is coming out from Donald Trump. Now, in addition to that, more developing news. I'm going to be sharing with you all the latest headlines. Take a look at this. We're hearing that the Pentagon is sending an additional 1,500 troops to the southern border, U.S. officials say. 2,500 U.S. service members already are stationed along the southern border. They're going to be sending additional troops to help support, because we saw that President Donald Trump has announced that we have a state of emergency at the U.S. southern border. They are taking control of the border. They are doing a mass deportation as we speak. The app to enter into the U.S. for sanctions is down. He is taking control of the U.S. border. In addition to that, Trump puts all U.S. government diversity staff on paid leave immediately. That is right. We're hearing that as of about an hour ago, DEI has now come to an end. The DEI offices, the employees, we are hearing that that has been ended. And there is a lot going on right now. Today is January the 22nd, 2025. What is it? The third day now that Trump is in office, and there has been a lot going on. So I'm going to be sharing with you the latest articles, video footage, getting you caught up as things are moving fast. And yes, I'm trying to cover it all for you guys. We're doing about 4, 5, 6 topics per video, per live stream now. And there's just so much going on that I got to cover it all in one live stream. So let me get you caught up on the latest with all of the things that are going on. And do me a favor before we dive in. If you appreciate that, don't forget, take a quick second, hit that like button for me. Help spread this out across the YouTube platform so more people can get the latest updates. Subscribe to stay up to date if this is your first time here. I'll keep you up to speed on everything, letting you know everything that is unfolding. And I cite all the sources, put it on the screen. I read right from it. There's hyperlinks in the description. Just like a book report, everything is cited and sourced so that way you can see it for yourself, see where it's coming from, see the dates, and know that it is the latest. And also additional resources linked down in the description below, as we're going to be talking about Trump now threatening Russia. We have seen Russia threatening the United States for quite some time. Now the tables have turned. We are seeing now Donald Trump threatening Putin, end the war or else. We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. And there has been a lot of concerns about what could potentially happen here if the United States goes to war. Well, there are additional resources linked down in the description. People asking for those iodide potassium tablets in case there's radiation exposure. If there was to be some sort of nuclear attack or suitcase nuke or some sort of dirty bomb that entered into the United States, what do we do for exposure to radiation? Those iodide potassium tablets linked down below. You can get a packet for like $15 at Amazon link, or if you've got kids or elderly in your house, you need them for all ages, it's like $20. You can get those down below, along with additional resources, various things to prepare yourself for anything. So those are linked down below. And also, as I mentioned, I'm on Spotify now. I'm also on Rumble. So Steve Ram channel, Rumble, Spotify, YouTube, and on Instagram, TikTok, and True Social, Steve Ram 3, and also on Facebook and X now, Steve Ram News. And stay tuned and maybe consider joining the newsletter. I know a lot of socials coming out. www.steveramnews.com, the newsletter. You will be updated, as pretty soon I'm going to be launching my own platform as well. So we're going to be all over the social media platforms, but it's all going to be in one place where I'll be able to provide you content and also some exclusive content. That way we can avoid censorship or any of those things that some other platforms might not like. You'll be able to get all the uncensored information in one location. So let me go ahead, though, and share with you the latest. And somebody I see, Dragon, is asking, what about the drones? Dragon, yes, as soon as that comes out, I'll let you know. We saw Trump actually address that. He was asked that in his first day in office, and he said, yes, let's get the public the information on the drones. Susie, get us a report on the drones. So right now there's an individual in Trump's staff named Susie that is working on assembling all the information they have on the drones to release to the public. As soon as that is made available, know that here on the channel, I will let you know right away. But let's go ahead and dive into the latest so that way you can get all the information as to what is going on, as we are hearing that Trump is warning Putin, end the war in Ukraine now or else. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. So first, let's take a look at the articles here. Then we're going to dive into the video footage so that way you can see it for yourself. So first up, you can see this came out a couple of hours ago. Today, January the 22nd, 2025, President Trump warned his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, to end the war in Ukraine quickly or else face high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions. Trump took to Truth Social on Wednesday today to double down on his criticism of Putin and Russia's hurting economy, warning Moscow that things would only get worse if the war doesn't end soon. Settle now and stop this ridiculous war. It's only going to get worse, Trump urged. And here you can see Vladimir Putin in a meeting. Now, reading on, the article says, if we don't make a deal, and soon, I have no other choice but to put high levels of tariffs, taxes, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries, he wrote. Wow, so Trump getting very aggressive with those potential sanctions, saying that I'm going to be taxing those and also those that are supporting Russia as well. So Trump getting very aggressive here with his rhetoric, which is a major shift we are seeing from this administration from the last, which we had heard Biden say he had permitted the use of long-range U.S. missiles to be fired from Ukraine into Russia, also permitted the use of those anti-personnel landmines to be placed in the border. We even heard that there were anonymous sources coming out saying that Biden was taking into consideration allowing Ukraine to have nuclear warheads to defend itself in the future against Russia. All of this rhetoric escalating the tensions, and we saw tons and tons of money just being poured into Ukraine year after year, Biden supporting more and more war. Now we are in not even 3 full days of Trump in office, and he is saying end the war now. Drastically different approach to this war by the Trump administration. Let me know. Do you like it? If so, drop a 47. If you think no, and you prefer the way Biden was handling things, drop a 46, but put those 46s and those 47s to show your approval for the handling of this war. Also, hit that like button if you haven't done so yet. Now, reading on, the article says, let's get this war, which never would have started if I were president, over with. We can do it the easy way or the hard way, and the easy way is always better, he added. It's time to make a deal. No more lives should be lost. This coming out from Donald Trump today. So dropping those threats on Russian President Vladimir Putin and how the tides have turned. We've been seeing so many threats coming out of World War III, nuclear war, potential attacks, escalating tensions, and rhetoric coming from Russia against the U.S. Now Trump saying, now we are threatening you, and we are threatening you to end the war now. The returning president vowed to end the war, which has been raging for nearly 3 years. Within the first days of his administration, he said that he would be willing to meet with Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to work out a deal. I'm not looking to hurt Russia. I love the Russian people and always had a very good relationship with President Putin. And this, despite the radical left's Russia hoax. We must never forget that Russia helped us win the Second World War, losing almost 60 million lives in the process, Trump added in the Post. The Post comes a day after Trump criticized Putin for continuing the war efforts despite reports that more than 700,000 Russians had lost their lives or were wounded in the fighting, which has also caused Russia's economy to plummet, with inflation edging towards 10%. He can't be thrilled, Trump said. He's not doing so well. I mean, he's grinding it out. It's not making him look very good. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal, he added. Now, Trump noted that despite Moscow's alleged silence, Zelensky was open to making a deal to end the war so long as it favored Ukraine. Kiev has previously stated that it would accept a diplomatic end to the war so long as it opened a pathway for Ukraine to join NATO, which could effectively end Russia's repeated annexation of its territories. Moscow, however, has said Kiev's admission into NATO is a non-starter, which Trump had previously sympathized with. So, We had actually heard this ultimatum posed by Zelensky. He said, listen, we essentially have two choices here, either NATO or nuclear weapons. Back in 1994 in the Budapest Agreement, we yielded our nuclear weapons over in an act of good faith for the promise of protection from the United States, the UK, and from Russia, that there would be no nuclear attacks or threats against Ukraine. And they said that as a result of us giving those over, we gave away that power, and now that agreement has been breached by Russia. So therefore, we either need nukes back or we need a NATO alliance to protect us, but we need some form of protection from Russia, who we were told was promised not to attack us because we gave up our nuclear arms. So that is why originally we had heard that anonymous source say that Biden was starting to take into consideration, hey, yeah, maybe Ukraine should have nuclear weapons yet again. And this enraged Russia. But we're hearing that they are now asking for approval into NATO, which Putin is saying is a non-starter. This will not be a part of the agreement. So we will see, because it seems like both sides, they're not coming to any sort of agreement at this time. Donald Trump is saying it is time to put an end to this war. In a Tuesday meeting with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, Putin suggested that he was open to talks with Trump on the future of the war, agreeing that a diplomatic end was the best solution so long as Russia's needs were met. We hear the statements from Trump and members of his team about their desire to restore direct contact with Russia, which were halted through no fault of ours by the outgoing administration, Putin said during Trump's inauguration. So we've actually seen this around the world, people essentially blaming the Biden administration for escalating the tensions between Russia and Ukraine. And in fact, the day that we saw Biden approve the use of long-range weapons to be fired from Ukraine into Russia, U.S. long-range missiles, we saw reports written all over the world that said Putin is approving World War III. He is starting the nuclear attacks that will begin. They said that Biden was essentially launching World War III by giving that approval, which Putin said was crossing the red line. Now they are saying that Trump is coming in and he is trying to put an end to this. We also hear his statements about the need to do everything to prevent World War III. We certainly welcome such an approach and congratulate the U.S. President-elect on taking the office, he added. So there you have it, you guys. We are hearing that Russia is saying that they are going to try to see if they can come to an agreement. They're willing to talk to Trump, but at the same time, we've also heard officials saying that they feel like Trump is overconfident in his abilities. And we're hearing that Russia media has actually been poking fun at Trump as he has come into office. But Trump is starting to get very aggressive with Russia at this time. Andre Lucas, thank you for the $1 super chat. Also, Andre Lucas, thank you for the $5 super chat. Putin is not going to end this war. It's too far in, thanks to the Democrats. Let me know if you agree with Andres. Are we heading to World War III right now? Is there no ability for Trump to stop this from happening? Are we too far in? If you think we're going to World War III, drop a 3 in the comments. If you think Trump is going to be able to stop this, put a 47 in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you agree with Andre or not. 3, if you agree, we're too far in, we're going to World War III. 47, if you think Trump is going to be able to put an end to this conflict. Now, in addition to that, I'm going to share with you some more information on this, but first, let me go ahead and share with you this video footage coming out from CNN here, as they are saying that right now Russian media is kind of poking fun at Donald Trump, saying he was going to be able to end this in a single day, but we'll see how long they're going to be poking fun for, because right now we're hearing that Trump is getting pretty aggressive with his threats against Putin. So we'll see how long they'll be laughing. Let's go ahead and take a look at this so that way you can see it for yourself.
The US president has issued new remarks that raise questions about his relationship with Russia's president. Donald Trump said Vladimir Putin is ruining Russia by continuing its war on Ukraine, adding that he'd consider new sanctions if Moscow doesn't try to make a deal. CNN's Fred Plykin has the details for us.
Just hours after President Donald Trump's inauguration, Kremlin-controlled TV already poking fun at the new U.S. leader and Trump's pledge to end the war in Ukraine on day one. In the U.S., they call the expression "stop the war in 24 hours" a bright example of Trump's hyperbole, the host says. But Trump himself says he intends to keep his promise and that his meeting with Putin is soon ahead. The tone on state TV very different than before the inauguration, like in December when Trump had criticized the Biden administration's decision to allow Ukraine to use U.S.-supplied ATACMS missiles to fire into Russia. More absolutely sensational news, the anchor said then. Donald Trump condemned the use of ATACMS for attacks on the territory of Russia. Shortly after taking office, President Trump, who claims to have good relations with Putin, appeared surprisingly critical of the Russian leader.
Zelensky wants to make a deal. I don't know if Putin does. He might not. I don't know. He should make a deal. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal. I think Russia's going to be in big trouble.
But Putin unfazed, showing whom he considers to be his most important ally and friend, Chinese leader Xi Jinping, even after Xi took the rare step of calling Trump shortly before the inauguration. Xi and Putin now making clear, in a virtual summit, China and Russia will stand together no matter what Trump does. These connections are self-sufficient and independent of domestic political factors and the current global situation, Putin said. This year, I am ready, together with you, to elevate Chinese-Russian relations to a new level, she added, to counter external uncertainties by preserving stability and resilience of Chinese-Russian relations. As Ukraine continues to lose ground in many sectors of the vast front line, Ukraine's president, speaking at the Davos Economic Forum, appeared concerned about whether Kyiv's allies can achieve what Ukraine would consider a just peace. If there are weak guarantees, uncertainty, only words, then you will only get words from Russia, and they will come back with war again. Fred Pleitgen, CNN, Berlin.
Donald Trump had insisted that if re-elected, he would end Russia's war in Ukraine on his first day. Well, that deadline has come and gone, and the war rages on unchecked.
And the US president was critical of Russian President Vladimir Putin for failing to make a deal to end the fighting. CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh reports that Ukrainians are desperate for it to end soon.
Neither Ukraine or Russia got a mention here. But hours later, Trump gave reporters his most stark criticism yet of Putin's war.
He should make a deal. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal. I think Russia's going to be in big trouble. You take a look at their economy, you take a look at the inflation in Russia. So I would hope, I got along with him great, and, you know, I would hope he wants to make a deal.
He said Europe should almost double its defence spend, and he would meet Putin soon. Trump's words, long awaited and welcomed here in central Kiev's fog. All the talk of peace deals, the conditions for it, of negotiations, somewhat distant and theoretical from the real dangers people in Kiev here go through every day, the sirens sounding so frequently, and this vast sea of loss. Clearly, so many Ukrainians desperate for peace, but also to see the sacrifice that's made yield some kind of future they can be happy with. As the sea of grief spreads to fresh grass, hope is their only option. Nazar is just back from the recruitment office. Perhaps even in the coming days, he says, Trump should give more information about what he plans to do. But I don't believe in Trump alone. This is such a war that it will not be ended by the actions of one person. Yulia is here to remember her son, Yevgeny, who died fighting 2 years ago. Maybe we'll be given more planes and weapons to win faster, she says. We really hope so. We have great hope that he will help Ukraine. Ukraine's president delivering a gentle dressing down of his European allies in front of their elite in Switzerland.
European leaders should remember these battles involving North Korean soldiers are now happening in places geographically closer to Davos than to Pyongyang.
As his forces fought to hold back Russia here in Toretsk, he reminded the European elite some of its governments were less powerful now than TikTok's algorithm. Trump baiting Putin, Zelensky baiting Europe. Day one and change of the less expected sort is here. There is extraordinary hope voiced by people here in Ukraine, but you get the sense that underneath it, they perhaps feel they have little choice but to try and believe that Donald Trump, with the stark words he had to say, frankly, about the Kremlin's choices in this war, genuinely wants to put pressure on Moscow. But they also know too that their situation on the front line is deteriorating, frankly, daily. Incrementally, yes, but in a steady way that suggests the curve of this war is working not in Kiev's favour. And I think it is that clock that is ticking in the background that will dictate so many of the choices ahead. But it was remarkable to hear Donald Trump exert rhetorically so much pressure on the Kremlin head in his first comments since coming to office.
There you have it, you guys. So we are hearing that he is getting very aggressive with his rhetoric towards Russia. We're hearing that he is telling them that they need to end it now. He said we could do this the easy way or the hard way. And he said that he thinks that Putin is destroying Russia by not putting an end to this war, that this is very bad for Russia. Trump coming in very aggressive and totally different approach and perspective than what we had seen from the Biden administration. Man, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, in addition to that, let's go ahead and take a look at this article that I pulled up here, also from BBC, that's going to give us a little bit more information as well. Trump tells Putin to end the ridiculous war in Ukraine or face new sanctions. Now, this article says that Donald Trump has warned that he will impose high tariffs and further sanctions on Russia if Vladimir Putin fails to end the war in Ukraine. Writing on his social media platform Truth Social that he said that by pushing to settle the war that he was doing Russia and its president a very big favor. Trump had previously said that he would negotiate a settlement to Russia's full-scale invasion launched in February of 2022 in a single day. Russia has not yet responded to the remarks, but senior officials have said in recent days that there is a small window of opportunity for Moscow to deal with the new U.S. administration. Putin had said repeatedly that he is prepared to negotiate to the end of the war, which first began in 2014, but that Ukraine would have to accept the reality of Russian territorial gains, which are currently about 20% of its land. He also refused to allow Ukraine to join NATO. Kiev does not want to give up its territory, although President Volodymyr Zelensky has conceded that he may have to cede some currently occupied land temporarily. On Tuesday, Trump told a news conference that he would be talking to Putin very soon, and it sounded likely that he would apply more sanctions if the Russian leader did not come to the table. But in his Truth Social post on Wednesday today, he went further and said, "I'm going to do Russia, whose economy is failing, and President Putin a very big favor," he wrote. "Settle now and stop this ridiculous war. It is only going to get worse if we don't make a deal, and soon. I have no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries as well." Continuing, he said, "Let's get this war, which never would have started if I were the president, over with. We can do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way. And the easy way is always better. It's time to make a deal," he said. Man, let me know your thoughts. Do you think that Donald Trump is going to get this deal done to end the war with Russia and Ukraine? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is Donald Trump going to do it? If so, put yes. If no, put no. Let me know your thoughts. Is Trump going to pull this off? Now, Russia's deputy UN ambassador, Dmitry Polizinski, earlier told Reuters news agency that the Kremlin would need to know what Trump wants in a deal to stop the war before the country moves forward. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told the World Economic Forum on Tuesday that at least 200,000 peacekeepers would be needed under any agreement. And he told the Bloomberg that any peacekeeping force for his country would have to include U.S. troops to pose a realistic deterrent to Russia. It can't be without the United States. Even if some European friends think that it can be, no, it will not be, he said, adding that no one else would risk such a move without the U.S. While Ukraine's leaders might appreciate this tougher talk Trump, they have always said that Putin only understands strength. The initial reaction in Kiev to the U.S. president's comments suggests that it is actions people are waiting for, not words. Trump has not specified where more economic penalties might be aimed or when. Russian imports to the U.S. have plummeted since 2022, and there are all sorts of heavy restrictions already in place. Currently, the main Russian export to the United States are phosphate-based fertilizers and platinum. Now, on social media, there was a generally scathing response from Ukrainians. Many suggested that more sanctions were a weak reply to Russia's aggression. But the biggest question for most is what Putin is actually open to discussing with Ukraine at a peace talk. Now, in Moscow, meanwhile, some people are seeing signs that the Kremlin may be readying Russians to accept less than the victory once envisioned, which includes tanks rolling all the way west to the southern Ukrainian port city of Odessa. TV editor Margarita Simonia, who is stridently pro-Putin, has begun talking about realistic conditions for ending this war, which she suggests could include halting the fighting along the current front lines. That would mean that the 4 Ukrainian regions that Putin illegally pronounced as Russian territory more than 2 years ago, like Zaporizhzhia, still being partly controlled by Kiev, Russian hardliners, the so-called Z-bloggers, are furious at such a defeatism. In his social media post, Trump also couched his threats of tariffs and tighter sanctions in words of love for the Russian people and highlighted his respect for the Soviet losses in World War II, a near sacred topic for Putin, though Trump massively overestimated the numbers and appears to think that USSR was Russia's alone. In reality, millions of Ukrainians and other Soviet citizens also lost their lives. That said, the man who previously said that he would understand Russia's concern about Ukraine joining NATO, which for Kiev is tantamount to saying Putin was provoked, does seem to be shifting his tone. Trump's position matters, but after 11 years of war with Russia and a history of poor peace deals, Ukrainians, they are not inclined to be too hopeful. So we are hearing that they could be reaching a deal here. They could be wearing out. Trump is increasing the rhetoric, but at this time, take a look at this. Xi speaks with Putin. We're hearing that this happened yesterday, calling on China, Russia to uphold international fairness justice. Take a look. Chinese President Xi Jinping on Tuesday said that he will be willing to work with Russian President Vladimir Putin to continue guiding bilateral relations towards a new height in the new year. Speaking with Putin in a video meeting, Xi called for coping with uncertainties of the external environment with the stability of resilience of China-Russia relations, jointly promoting the development and revitalization of the two countries and upholding international fairness and justice. The two heads of the states exchanged festive greetings for the upcoming Chinese Lunar New Year. Xi recalled the 3 meetings that he had with Putin last year, which led to a range of important common understandings. He also said last year marked the 75th anniversary of the China-Russia diplomatic relations, which feature permanent good neighborly friendship, comprehensive strategic coordination, and mutually beneficial cooperation, and have become increasingly dynamic. Xi also mentioned various activities held as a part of the China-Russia Years of Culture, as well as steadily progressing pragmatic cooperation and growing bilateral trade as well. So we are seeing these two coming together, unifying, trying to support each other as they are saying that they need some form of international fairness. And they are starting to say this as Donald Trump is coming into office, maybe concerned about things no longer being as fair as they thought or in their favor, as Trump is now the president of the United States. Now, one of the things that they also are discussing is AI. And if you missed it yesterday, I covered for you that there's going to be $500 billion of investor funds that are going to be going into Stargate, the new U.S.-based AI system, which they are saying is going to revolutionize mankind. Humanitarian changes, the likes of which everything is going to change. They're going to fix cancer. They're going to do all these things, and it's going to be all through the use of AI. And they're saying that the United States is taking the lead on this, and China is particularly concerned about this. So take a look at this. So China and Russia trying to say, hey, how can we try to keep up with the U.S. now that Donald Trump is in office? Man, let me know your thoughts in the comments. But they're saying this is going to be revolutionary, unlike anything we have ever seen. They are saying Stargate is going to change the world. Let's go ahead and take a look at this video footage so that way you can see it for yourself.
Let's bring in Steve Yates, Senior Research Fellow for China and National Security Policy at the Heritage Foundation. Steve, good morning to you. So let's talk about this big announcement that came down yesterday. It has to do with AI infrastructure and data centers being built in this country, things that are kind of tricky to understand. So practically speaking, what does this mean for our future?
Well, first and foremost, it is a tremendously large investment in basically America winning the future. We've had a lot of talk in Washington and elsewhere over recent years about strategic competition coming from China, supply chain dependency, and trying to compete in these critical areas. But you have to have reliable baseload energy. You have to have secure supply chains to be able to run these things. And if for America to be the leading high-tech manufacturing export economy of the world, all that has to come together, and it takes more than a little bit of investment. Unlike the CHIPS Act and other things before, this, I think, will stimulate development in that base infrastructure necessary for these industries to thrive. It'll attract investment in manufacturing back to the United States. And frankly, if I'm Xi Jinping of China, I have a little bit of a shiver in my spine that America just might be serious about competing and beating me.
Oh, absolutely. I would argue that winning the AI race is almost existential to our country's survival, especially when it comes to somebody like Xi Jinping. One of the people at the forefront of this is OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. He praised the deal with Brett last night. Listen.
This means we can create AI and AGI in the United States of America. Wouldn't have been obvious that this was possible. I think if a different president it might not have been possible, but we are thrilled to get to do this, and I think it'll be great for Americans, great for the whole world.
I mean, look, you mentioned some of these, from removing those regulatory barriers to unleashing the energy needed to power AI to, quite frankly, the funding. Why did it take Donald Trump in 36 hours to make this happen? When AI is so important to our future, where has the rest of our government been for the last 4+ years?
Well, I fear that they have been slumbering in the old bet that globalization and internationalization of these things was going to be an efficient way of meeting the future needs. But Donald Trump uniquely organized campaigns and our country around the idea that we need to get serious about being able to manufacture and supply things here. Our allies also want this too. It just should not be forgotten that if AI and other technologies are under the control or monopoly of a government like China, where they have no ethics, no value for human dignity, and unlimited resources to do whatever it is they choose, the highest surveillance state in the world, we need to have responsible stakeholders working together that value ethics, value genuine information, and I think this is just a tremendous down payment on that renewal that President Trump was talking about.
Well, speaking of China, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping spoke on Tuesday after Donald Trump was sworn into office. It was a video call that lasted about an hour and a half, and it was certainly chummy. Xi Jinping told Vladimir Putin, "This year, I am ready to elevate Chinese-Russian relations to a new level, to counter external uncertainties by preserving stability and resilience of Chinese-Russian relations." So our adversaries are going to react to a change in leadership, and this is how they're doing it. So how does Donald Trump respond to this elevated partnership?
Well, of course, President Trump has said very frequently that he intends to open channels of dialogue with both leaders. Doesn't mean concession. It means he's going to take the temperature of the things that matter to him, the United States, the new American agenda. Of course, the priority in engaging Russia is going to be what Keith Kellogg, a special envoy, is charged with doing, of ending the killing in Ukraine and trying to come up with some stable peace on Europe's eastern flank. Should he succeed in being able to do that with President Trump, that changes the calculus for China. Right now, Xi Jinping thinks he's got a best bro to try to build a coalition to counter the United States and maybe thwart the United States. I don't like their odds if Donald Trump remains on this run of initial big push orders to get America right.
All right, Steve Yates, live for us. Thank you so much.
There you have it, you guys. So we are hearing that China and Russia, they might be working together to try to get a push to stay out in front, to try to get ahead of the United States. But we're hearing that right now, Donald Trump, they're concerned because with Trump in office, they are feeling like, as you saw, they're trying to proceed with international fairness, was the words of Xi Jinping to Russian President Vladimir Putin. Let's try to make sure that we can keep things fair between us and Donald Trump in the United States. And if you like the sound of that, don't forget to drop a 47. And we are hearing that Trump is pushing to the forefront with AI, creating a U.S.-based AI infrastructure in Stargate. $500 billion is going to be going into that to try to make sure that we are ahead of the AI game and making sure that we are not being beat out by anybody. Now, at the same time, we are also hearing that there is state of emergency announced in the U.S. As soon as Donald Trump came into office, we are hearing, take a look at this if you missed it. Pentagon is sending an additional 1,500 troops to the southern border, U.S. officials have said. 2,500 U.S. service members, they already are stationed along the southern border. Now they're going to be making their way down there before the end of the month, we are hearing. Now, this says that the U.S. Pentagon is going to be sending an additional 1,500 active duty troops to the southern border by the end of the month. A U.S. official has told Fox News on Wednesday today. So again, this just coming out in the past couple of hours. It was not immediately clear what specific units would be sent, though the Trump administration is expected to make a formal announcement later on Wednesday. We're hearing this announcement has been made. They are sending over all of these troops. Now, it says there are already 2,500 U.S. service members stationed at the southern border. The troops were ordered there in May of 2023 during the Biden administration under Title X authorities. They were approved by former Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and are planned to be in place until the end of fiscal year 2025, according to the U.S. Northern Command spokesperson. The 1,500 additional service members will deploy to different locations along the southern border by the end of the month, the U.S. official has said. Now, the added troops will act in the same roles as the service members already there, providing aerial reconnaissance, data entry, training, vehicle maintenance, detection, and monitoring, and some other logistical support roles as well. The announcement will mark the third time that the U.S. troops they have been sent to the southern border in the last 2 years. In May of 2023, former President Joe Biden and Austin approved a request from former Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas to send an additional 1,500 active duty troops to the southern border for 90 days to assist with the influx of migrants after pandemic-era health restrictions ended in May of 2023. In March of 2024, Austin approved another Department of Homeland Security request for 2,500 service members, including National Guardsmen, under Title X duty status. So there you have it, you guys. We're hearing that more are being sent. And again, if you did not hear, moments after Donald Trump was sworn into office, we're hearing that the southern borders were secured. They announced there were no more crossings. If anyone crossed, there would be arrests. They are sending people back. We heard the head of his group for Homeland Security, and they are doing mass deportations. They asked him, when are you going to start? He said, we already did. We are shipping people out. The app to get in, that asylum app, he said it's already down. We are cleaning up the United States. If you like the sound of that, go ahead and drop a 47 for Donald Trump, as we're hearing that they are getting busy right now. Now, in addition to that, let's go ahead and take a look at some video footage coming out on this so that way you can see it for yourself.
We are just hours away from the end of all DEI programs in those dedicated departments in the federal government.
Oh, excuse me, wrong video. I apologize. Not the DEI.
We bring you more breaking news this hour. A U.S. official telling Fox News that the Pentagon will be sending 1,500 U.S. active duty troops to the southern border by the end of the month. Now, this will accompany the 2,500 troops already at the border. They were put there in March of 2024 by none other than the Biden administration. So this is adding to what is there. I'm sure this will be spun by the media as some sort of novel and extra constitutional act by current President Trump. But indeed, he is simply adding, Ben, to the troops that are already there from the Biden administration. And this comes with the context of that executive order with NORTHCOM, reorienting them to secure the southern border.
It's different. Look, I live in Texas, and I can tell you Border Patrol agents that I know well said for the last 4 years they have been directed by the Biden administration to not do their job. They said, imagine going to work every day and you're told you cannot do the job that you swore an oath to do. They are thrilled because they now said, not only do we actually get to go back and do the job we're supposed to do, instead of babysitting and allow for illegal activity to flourish, but we're going to get the resources we need to get it back in order because it's so out of control and there's no order. One of them said to me the other day, they said, you can't imagine just how bad it is at the southern border. And because what they've done deliberately in the last administration was make it total chaos on purpose, so that there's no way to even have order. They said we need more people down there. They're going to need troops, National Guard, and a lot of help just to get it back to where it was when Trump left office. And I think this is a step in the right direction. I think you're going to see also governors jump all in to help with resources as well.
You know, Cheryl, one of the interesting things I find about a lot of these EOs as I read through them, I know you mentioned you were reading through one. I know Stephen Miller is behind a lot of these. Stephen Miller, people may not know, but for the last 4 years has run a legal advocacy organization. He understands the law. And when you look at this, they specifically cite in the EO that was signed a national emergency at the border that unleashes all sorts of powers. Designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, FTOs, unleashes all sorts of powers. And ironically, citing the Title 10 authorities used by Biden as they make this move. It is so well thought out.
It is, and those legal protections are in place. They also are put in legal protections as far as the sanctuary city goes. That's where we're seeing the fight back now is coming from the sanctuary cities, whether it's New York or it's Denver or, you know, even like Boston, we're going to see some things. But I think at the end of the day, what I found so interesting about the way that this was all phrased is actually it enables, to your point, the military to come in. That has to go through the Pentagon, but that's in place. That's why you need the defense secretary nomination to be confirmed sooner rather than later, because that all has to get processed through the Defense Department. I realize there's an acting defense secretary right now, but we need clarity with that. Back to what's happening here in New York, how soon did you see crying immigrants when the CBP1 app was shut down? How fast did that video get out there? Well, more of that's coming from places. That is coming from the other side. They're also
it's a campaign.
Building their legal challenges and campaigning to make sure that this becomes the emotional look at what Trump is doing.
This is the AOC kids in cages moment where there's crying.
We did see 22 states are now suing over the birthright citizenship.
Yeah, just to finish up on what you're just saying. Yeah, some of it is political, but some of it is also they were sold a bill of goods on the other side of the border because there's a magnet up here that says if you can come across that border any old kind of way, even if you have to be, and forgive it, but it's true, put yourself in danger to be raped by the drug cartels, you go for it and you get on that. And then there's this promise, this magnet, that this current administration, meaning Biden's at the time, won't do anything but help you. They'll give you debit cards in New York. They'll do everything that you might even get to vote it if you came here as a non-citizen illegally. I mean, the world is your oyster, and now they realize it isn't. So it doesn't take much to get them to the point where they're emotional. That dream is closing. They're going to have to do it the right way.
Yeah. You know, Tom Homan cited that they might go after local jurisdictions who refuse to comply with immigration law. But he's not just out there like saying things, they're actually doing them immediately as they take office. This is acting Deputy AG Emile Beauvais. He sent this directive out. Federal law prohibits state and local actors from resisting, obstructing, failing to comply with lawful immigration commands. The U.S. Attorney's Office and litigating components of DOJ shall investigate incidents involving misconduct. This is a Fox News exclusive out this morning. More action being taken.
More action being taken, and good night sanctuary cities, right? Like, this is over, guys. And the thing that Homan said on our air, I believe, recently is we are going after public safety threats. How many people can say that's the wrong thing to do? Why would this be controversial? I have no idea, but at the end of the day, this is exactly what needs to be done. And maybe because I'm speaking as somebody who walks through the streets of New York every single day, and we see what's going on in the streets and how people, well, they're being challenged on the streets by people who are not in this country legally.
Yeah, and the American public has changed. So the crying pictures, I'm not sure they'll have the same effect 4 years later after the media tried it once.
Hey,
there you have it, you guys, and let me know if you agree. They are saying that Americans, they are ready for this change. This is what people have voted for. They have voted for Donald Trump to go ahead and secure our southern borders, to make sure that America is safe again, and to get people in place that will secure the borders, stop them from coming over. And we've already had the threats of potential foreign actors coming in, wanting to create sleeper cells. They believe that they're already here. I've been sharing with you the list of cities. We saw those attacks on New Year's Day. We were concerned about more attacks that potentially could be coming. We've heard the warnings from the FBI. I even shared with you a prophecy that was shared to millions of an individual or a pastor that said that this was going to happen. So a lot of people are concerned about potential attacks. Right now, safety and security is a top priority, and we are seeing the Trump administration coming in very aggressively to see this get done. So, again, if you are glad to hear that Donald Trump, in just the first 3 days of being in office, is doing this, don't forget to take a quick second and hit that like button for me and drop a 47 in the comments to show your support for what is being done at this time. As we're hearing, they are aggressively pursuing getting this done at this time so that way we can have a safe and secure border. So that is another thing that we are seeing that has unfolded today. So I'm sharing with you all of the developing news coming out today, January the 22nd, 2025. And again, if you appreciate that, hit the like button. And also, if this is your first time here, don't forget, take a quick second, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? Now, in addition to that, let's go ahead and take a look at this article as well. More information coming out. DEI has officially ended. And if you like the sound of that, put a 47 as well, as Trump puts all U.S. government diversity staff on paid leave immediately. And you can see this article coming out 24 minutes ago from the time that I pulled it today, January the 22nd, 2025. And it says President Donald Trump has ordered that all U.S. government staff working on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI schemes, be put on immediate paid administration leave. The White House confirmed that all federal DEI workers had to be put on leave by 1700 Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday before the office and programs in question were shut down. In an executed order issued on Tuesday, Trump also called for an end to the dangerous, demeaning, and immoral programs. It is unclear how many people are affected by the order. The American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, which represents 800,000 federal workers, said. Since his inauguration, the president has acted swiftly on a number of key pledges through a raft of unilateral actions. He repeatedly attacked DEI practices on the campaign trail, arguing that they were discriminatory. In his inaugural address, Trump pledged to forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. DEI programs aim to promote participation in workplaces by people from a range of backgrounds. Their backers said they address historical underrepresentation and discrimination against certain groups, including racial minorities, but critics say such programs can themselves be discriminatory. On Tuesday, a memo was sent from the U.S. Office of Personnel Management to heads of the government agencies, instructing them to place DEI employees on leave. The memo had a number of requests, including the removal of public websites for DEI offices. By Thursday, federal agencies must compile a list of DEI offices and workers. By 31 January, agencies must submit a written plan for executing layoffs in DEI offices. So they are preparing to end the DEI. Now, Trump's executive order, meanwhile, took aim at what it called the illegal policies of DEI and the DEIA, or Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Accessibility, framing them as being in opposition to U.S. law. It said that these policies had the capability to violate important underlying civil rights laws that protect Americans from discrimination. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said that the move is another win for the Americans of all races, religions, and creeds, and fulfills a campaign promise made by Trump. Now, the executive order requires federal hiring, promotions, and performance reviews reward individual initiatives rather than DEI-related factors. It also requires the U.S. Attorney General to submit within 120 days recommendations to encourage the private sector to end similar diversity efforts. And the order revokes a civil rights-era executive order signed by former President Lyndon B. Johnson that makes it illegal for federal contractors to discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin when hiring. It also requires them to take affirmative action to ensure equal opportunities during employment. Revoking that order will have ripple effects in the federal and private sector, said Alvin Tillery, a political scientist and co-founder of the 2040 Strategy Group, which does DEI training in the private sector. He said that theoretically, a company with only white employees that now refuses to hire black people or Latinos or women, for example, can go for a federal contract without showing that their processes are compliant with federal diversity standards. It could also eliminate training programs aimed at curbing discrimination or reinforcing positive behavior, critics say. People are going to be ill-informed about what discrimination is and what it looks like, said Les Alderman, a D.C.-based civil rights lawyer who represents federal and congressional workers. Good-hearted people are going to be wrong about some things that we do, and it is going to have consequences. Unions representing federal employees have condemned Trump's executive order. The AFGE argues that diversity programs have reduced gender and racial pay disparities in the federal workforce. AFGE National President Everett Kelly said in a statement that removing the programs serves to undermine the merit-based civil service and turn the federal hiring and firing decisions into loyalty tests. The order was designed to intimidate and attack nonpartisan civil servants, said National Federation and Federal Workers National President Randy Irwin. Tuesday's executive order comes on the heels of a related one signed by Trump on Monday. That one declares that all DEI offices, positions, programs are to be terminated within 60 days to the maximum extent allowed by law. Among the roles targeted for elimination are Chief Diversity Officer and Environmental Justice positions. Several large U.S. companies have ended or scaled back their DEI programs in recent weeks, including McDonald's, Walmart, Facebook, parent company Meta. Others, like Apple and retailers, Target and Costco, they have publicly defended their DEI programs. Mr. Tillery said that while he believes the former Biden administration's effort to add DEI positions across government was well-intentioned, it did not meet its goals. The DEI jobs were underfunded, understaffed. The people doing the work were heroes with very few resources, he said, but now we are going to go to zero. So if you are happy to hear that DEI is going to zero, let me know in the comments. Are you glad to see an end to the DEI? If so, put yes. If no, put no. Let me know your thoughts, but we're hearing that that is going to be coming to an end. DEI offices, they should have closed now about roughly about 2 hours ago, I think. If I'm not mistaken, it's currently 5:50 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas. So it looks like DEI has come to an end. I am seeing yeses starting to come in. People are saying they are glad to see this gone. Someone saying yes, absolutely, says Ship 55. Joseph saying yes. Mary is saying yes. Everybody is saying yes. They're glad to see that the DEI, it is going away. Now, let me go ahead and play for you this video clip. This is the DEI video footage so you can see it for yourself.
We are just hours away from the end of all DEI programs in those dedicated departments in the federal government. The Office of Personnel Management is set at 5 p.m. Eastern to meet the deadline for all government agencies to close those offices, and the employees, for at least the time being, will be on paid administrative leave. That follows President Trump's executive orders to bring an end to DEI and to make America merit-based. So he's going to do that at the federal level and restore the importance of our individual efforts within the workforce. During his inaugural address, President Trump made very clear his intentions to create a colorblind society.
I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Yesterday, the president signed an executive order ending Biden's, quote, forced, illegal, and immoral discrimination, end quote, in the federal workforce and directing the government to serve every person with equal dignity and respect. However, liberal leaders are up in arms about the idea of merit-based society. Here's the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Why do we have DEI? We had DEI because you denied us diversity. You denied us equity. You denied us inclusion. DEI was a remedy to the racial institutional bigotry practiced in academia and in these corporations. Now you want to put us back in the back of the bus. We're going to do the Dr. King Rosa Parks on you.
And The View co-host Sunny Hostin launched her own attack.
And thinking about that, and Donald Trump saying things that this country would be a meritocracy, you're talking about a man who didn't become the president of the United States because of merit. He hasn't he had no political experience whatsoever. He had no business experience. He was given everything that he has. He is a legacy hire. He is, if anything, a DEI hire, a didn't earn it hire.
I'm just, my head is spinning. Ben, where is your Sunny Hostin and Reverend Sharpton decoder ring?
Yeah, look, I think you look at Al Sharpton, this is like, all right, I'm going to get my network back going. I'm going to raise some money. This is a great moment for me. I go back to Martin Luther King because he quotes Martin Luther King like he's on Martin Luther King's side. He's the exact opposite. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that for my 4 children, 4 little children, we will one day live in a nation where we will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by their character. That is exactly what the president is now saying. We don't need a melting pot that you organize in some liberal woke agenda where you say, how many transgenders do we need? How many gays? How many straights? How many African Americans? How many Asian Americans? He's saying we're going back to merit base. We want to look at Americans not based on do you fill a quota for this country or for our business, but instead we choose you because you're the best person to do the job regardless of the color of your skin. Al Sharpton needs to go back and watch that speech.
Yeah. So the way I look at this too, Cheryl, is everything that Ben just said, and I would add this, it also requires that you do your job.
Yes.
And part of your character be work ethic. All of the things together, and when you don't, they get rid of you.
Yeah.
And DEI promises that what? You get to keep the job forever?
Read the EO. It's right here, folks. This is the EO. Here you go. Reward individual initiative, skills, performance, and hard work.
Merit-based.
Why is that controversial? Did Al Sharpton not read the executive order? Pretty sure he didn't because he thought about fundraising. But let me tell you something. We saw this in corporate America. We've talked about this already, guys. We saw Amazon and Walmart and Meta, John Deere, Harley, excuse me, that's their ticker. They all started to get rid of DI initiatives a year ago because it didn't make sense. If you look at a report from 2022 when the Biden administration actually put down these policies, and this was about, let me give you the direct quote. This is about making sure that there was, gender equality, gender markers, pronouns, transgender, non-conforming, non-binary, all of that. Another report in 2024 back and looked at if it was successful, and it wasn't. There were minor changes in federal employee and employment stats. It was a waste of money and a waste of time, guys.
Kelly, you know what really stands out to me as the former child of a military family. I don't know if this yet touches the federal government and the U.S. military part of it, because DEI is something, and a woke agenda is something that you heard Pete Hegseth and a lot of people talking about during his confirmation hearings, and how that has held back in some cases our ability to really be ready militarily.
It's such an important point, and in fact, what we saw is DEI, the DOD, Department of Defense, spent $68 million on it, and that number went up to $114 million by the end of Biden's presidency. Department of Education spent $1 billion with a B. But what is so insidious to me in that executive order you have there, it begins by talking about Executive Order 13985. That was one of the first acts of Biden as president. It was a DEI executive order. We were all sitting here on this couch for 2 years talking about critical race theory. And then it was actually Governor DeSantis' office that said there's this new term, it's DEI. We weren't even talking about it, right? Yeah. But it goes back to day one of Biden's presidency. He had everyone submit equity plans, every department. So you think they're focusing on China and Russia at the Pentagon. No, they're focusing on equity. This was this man's priority, and no wonder we're all messed up as a country right now.
So what Trump is doing is replacing the word equity with equality, which is where, I mean, equality,
what a great idea.
You get the opportunity, you have to earn keeping it.
So what is one of the big problems in our country right now? Our institutions, including the federal government, don't have the respect of people. This will help reinstall the respect of people and respect for people who hold those positions, those government jobs, who are racial minorities, right? As soon as you know the rules have changed and people are getting hired because they deserve the job, guess what? I think the respect for those institutions will rise.
All right, make America merit-based again.
Yeah.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? We're hearing that the DEI, it is gone. The DEI has DIE'd, and now we are hearing that it's going to be based upon your character, upon your skill set, upon your ability to perform work. And if you think that that is good, go ahead and hit that like button for me if you haven't done so yet. So again, just to recap, for those of you hopping on a little bit late, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if this is your first time here. But there has been a lot going on. Let me get you caught up on all of the news, the headlines that are coming out today, January the 22nd, 2025, so that way you can know the latest, because there is a lot going on. Now, the first one that we were discussing was that we had heard that Donald Trump here, he tells Vladimir Putin to end the war in Ukraine now or else. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, escalating the threats. Today, January the 22nd, 2025, Trump tells Putin to end this ridiculous war in Ukraine or face new sanctions. Now, as a result of this, we're hearing that the Russian media is upset. They are making fun of Donald Trump. And we are hearing that Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, they are combining, they're unifying, coming together, trying to see if they can uphold international fairness with the concerns of these threats that are coming from Donald Trump. Now, also, in addition to that, we are hearing that there are 1,500 troops being sent to the U.S. southern border right now, as Donald Trump has announced the app to get in. It has been shut down. Also, birthright citizenship. He is trying to overturn that with an executive order. We're hearing there's going to be a legal battle on that, but right now he is also shutting that down, stopping people from entering, and a mass deportation is taking place as we speak. And also we are hearing that, as we just saw, Trump puts all U.S. government diversity staff on paid leave immediately. DEI has come to an end. So, a lot going on, and if you missed it, there was tons of executive orders that I covered yesterday and the day before. Trump is coming in. He is coming in hot. There is a lot happening. I will keep you guys up to speed on everything. As we're hearing, there are executive orders left and right. Also, a lot of people asking about the drones. Steve, what is the update on the drones? Well, we actually saw, while Trump was signing executive orders, somebody asked him what's going on with the mysterious drones in New Jersey. He said, you know what? We need to find out. Let the people know. And he said, Susie, somebody in his administration, find out what's going on with the drones, put a report together, and let the American people know what is going on with those mysterious drones. So we're hearing that that is going to be on the way here very soon as well. So a lot taking place. I will keep you guys up to speed on everything, share with you the latest headlines, link it in the description with a hyperlink, put it on the screen, read right from it so you can see that it is the latest. And if you appreciate that, don't forget, take a quick second, hit that like button for me, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? And I will keep you up to speed on everything. But that is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Dave, thank you for that $2 super chat. He says, don't we really want to fight with China and Russia? Do we really want to fight with China and Russia? I don't think anybody wants to fight. And the threat that Trump was issuing was end the war in Ukraine or else. And I covered all those. He's saying more taxes, more sanctions, going to get really aggressive with trying to get them to force this to an end. So, like I said, though, we will see. I'll keep you guys up to date. That is the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.